All right, welcome back. We're doing something a little bit different today. Hopefully, you all will enjoy this. We're gonna pick a Fischer game in the Najdorf. We're gonna do this thing in Chessbase called replay training, which is essentially a guess the move. It tells you if you're close or not close. And my theory is we can kind of do this together. I will say what I'm thinking is the move. You guys can say what you're thinking is the move, and we can figure that out before we input the move. I'm going to try to pick a game that's not too long. I've decided to pick Najdorf's. I think it'll be fun to do some Najdorf games. Here's one that I haven't heard of. Fischer's playing. I picked Fischer playing black because he just always plays the Sozin as white, so I thought it might be worth doing. Okay, so let's take a look at this game. It's only 27 moves. I think that's fine as far as... Hopefully we didn't see all the moves there. I know I didn't, but maybe you did. All right, so we're going to play as black. And let's have fun with this. So there's not many people here yet, so I'm just going to start guessing moves. Once other people chime in, then I'll stop and wait for them. But I think we can guess that this is the Najdorf. Probably c5. So our opponent comes in with knight f3. The Najdorf continues with d6. They take the whole center. We cannot give them the whole center, of course. So we take. They take back. We threaten the other pawn. They back it up, and we play a6. A6 is such a fascinating move because I know for myself it took me a long time to understand. Like I was willing to say, okay, if Fischer plays this and Kasparov plays this and all these greats play this, sure, I'll play a6 and I'll be perfectly happy with that. But it took me quite a while to understand sort of what the point is, and what the point seems to be is that it's kind of a waiting move, but it's a productive waiting move because oftentimes we want to play b5 anyway. We don't mind keeping our knights out of b5, that bishop out of b5. We're sort of controlling a square, making a move we probably want to play anyway, and now having a lot of information as we move forward. Okay, so they're going into this bishop g5 line, which is pretty much always met by e6. e5 is what you want to play if you can, against many of the non-aggressive lines. And against f4, it seems like there's two big paths already. One is to move the queen to b6 and play the poison pawn variation. This is Chessbase. Welcome, Rocket CEO or Roche. I don't know how you pronounce that. I'm hoping that this is a bishop e7 line, which is the line that I play. The poison pawn is very theoretical. The theory moves. So even the theory he played may not be the right theory. So I'm going to hope it's this. Oh, no. He's playing a poison pawn. Now I'm wishing we had not selected this game. It's only 27 moves. I'll be more careful next time not to pick a poison pawn. Okay. So the poison pawn is essentially the giving us the b2 pawn. So we're going to take the b2 pawn and hope our queen doesn't get trapped. So we're going to have to do some calculation here. And, what do we think? What are we doing with this queen? I mean, I guess this is a pretty easy move, right? We pretty much have to play queen a3 or drop the queen. But generally, the queen ends up having a lot of problems in this variation, and it's why a lot of people don't do it. Okay, so we've got our queen temporarily out of danger, but there are other ways they can threaten the queen. They're now threatening our knight. Yeah, it's pronounced Rocket. Haha, a big fan of the podcast and YouTube series. Awesome. Thanks so much for saying that. Thanks for hopping by. And what do you think? What do you think Fischer did here, Rocket? Our knight is in danger. We have some choices here. We can certainly take on d5. Can I make arrows in Chessbase? Not in this. Okay. So we could take on d5 with the pawn. Our knight isn't actually pinned anymore, right? By moving the queen out to grab that pawn, we could just simply move the knight to any number of squares. It seems like most of them are a little bit vulnerable. Something like g4 might look intriguing, but I think just h3 would push it back, and then I'm not sure what we're doing. I am quite tempted to take the pawn. They take back. They now have an isolated pawn. I move my knight to, say, d7. I am hitting the pawn. I am moving my other knight to c6, hitting the pawn a second time. It doesn't seem like there's a catastrophe heading my way. So it seems to me like we can just take this. I think there's a way to draw arrows in Chessbase, but I really don't know Chessbase very well. I've had it for a while, but I haven't really used it. It's this feature that's gotten me to use it more. So I'm going to take here. Okay, that is what he did. And then we have to figure out what we're doing with the knight. I mean, it is feasible to go to d5, trade knights, leave ourselves with a very vulnerable pawn. I don't love it. I think my idea works pretty well. It doesn't seem like our pieces are in danger at all. I think we can just drop the knight back to d7 and be happy with that. Okay. So now they're bringing more pieces in. Our queen has slightly less squares it can go to. So let's figure out, are we about to get our queen trapped? Let's say they play rook b3 now. We can still go to a5. We could actually go to c5 as well. I kind of like playing bishop e7, trying to trade off that bishop. And then our queen can come all the way back anywhere along that diagonal. We're up a pawn. Another move that looks pretty reasonable is b5, hunting the bishop a bit. I imagine it's going to drop back to b3. And then I think we have to move our queen to, say, c5, where it looks pretty safe. I guess, though, they could play knight a4 hitting our queen. There's still plenty of squares left for our queen. So I don't think our queen is in too much danger. Also, they're hanging a second pawn here, which I didn't realize. We're so undeveloped. Like, if we look at development here, our opponent has developed all of the minor pieces. Oh, we can't do that either. We have 1, 2, 3 minor pieces undeveloped. I mean, this just looks really risky to me, right? Like, taking another pawn, really? Can we get away with that? Let's say they just continue on and ignore that and castle. We've just got everything developed. I don't really see like a killing blow for them or anything, but it just seems dangerous. I think I want to play bishop e7, get a little closer to castling. Okay, that is what he did. That's cool. And then sacking the piece. That is dramatic. That does not seem right here. Especially since it feels like we can first take, the queen comes in, then we take the pawn. I guess maybe, I was thinking they would castle, and actually that looks good as well. But they could also just retake with the bishop, with the knight, and then they'd have, the queen would be here on g5, the knight would be up here on e6. It's a lot of action in our face. And it's not like we can just be like, no problem, just immediately castle queenside. We're so underdeveloped, we can't do that either. Do we have to give the pawn back this way? Is the best way just... Oh, wait. I was thinking we could castle. We can't even castle. Then our piece would... Oh, no. Our piece isn't hanging because of the queen. But can they bully the queen away from this diagonal? Doesn't look like it. So... I'm not sure. I think what I want to do is take the bishop. The queen comes in. I castle. they castle, I win the piece, or they run away. Yeah, I think this works. It looks a little dicey. All right, so we're going to take here. No, that's not what we did, but the computer says it's fine. That was a good move. This looks like a bad move. Why are they castling? Why didn't he take the free bishop? Oh, it's not, because it's not a free bishop. I keep forgetting. We have our queen backing it up. Okay, so we don't have to take it. Now this free bishop looks very appealing. Like, we take the bishop. It seems like they would have to take with the knight. We could take their rook. They take back. And yeah, they have some stuff in our face, but it seems like we're holding everything together. I'm going to take here. And the engine says that move was not great. It was not the best move. I should take here first. Okay, I think that's also fine. Now can I take the bishop? No, I guess not, right? Because now the knight comes into e6. They are threatening mate. I guess we can go check. They take. Then we play g6 at the end. The question is that going to be acceptable? Or are they just going to play like queen f4, threatening a mating attack with f7, push the king back, queen e8? Because once again, we're so underdeveloped. Also, their knight is hanging. Like, this is a wild game. I didn't even realize that. The knight is fully hanging. And when we take that knight, the next knight is hanging. Wow. So let's say we take the knight on c3. We're looking at this, since I can't draw arrows. And they move their knight to f5. They're threatening the mate on g6. Can we just play g6? They've got the check on g8. Move over to h8. Maybe now the queen checks on f6. Doesn't look like it's quite mate, but boy, it is tough. So Rocket says bishop takes g5, then castle. Okay, so we're going back a little bit. This is the problem with the delay. Okay, so you were saying first bishop takes g5, then castle. I think that's what I said as well. The engine, like, or not the engine. Fischer went the other way. Okay, well, I'm gonna take the knight. I'm a greedy man. Okay, that's a terrible move. The engine's like, no, you cannot take the knight, you idiot. You're being attacked too much. Okay. So it's saying, I don't like the hint. I think I need to turn off the hint somehow. Oh, I can turn off the hint right now. We don't need the hint. Okay. The hint was we could play h6 and drive the queen away before we start doing this stuff. Okay, fine. Yeah, now the knight hanging looks much worse to me. I say we take this knight still. Okay. All right, we took the knight. They sacked another piece. We take. They take. We take. Check. King goes back. Queen to d8. Check. We move to h7. And we seem fine. Also, d4 might fall with check when it falls. So one more time. Rook takes f7. Let's say bishop takes. King takes. Rook f1. King g8. They could try to set up a mate with like queen g4, then g7 is under attack. And we don't. It is weird playing with all three of these pieces gone. It feels like a Morphe game. Okay. I think we have to take it. I think we survive. Okay, they're going there first. All our pieces are actually working so well together, none are hanging. I think we go to h7 with our king. Looks like we have no other options. We do. It says that that loses. It's a mistake of 10.8 pawns. Wow. Okay, that's a big mistake. Okay, let's look. Why does h7 lose? Maybe because the bishop can check then. On f5. Push the pawn. Not entirely sure. But I think what we have to do is move the knight back then. There's not a lot of choices here. So if we take, rook comes into f1, then we go back to g8, queen takes f8, we go to h7, queen takes g7 mate. So we can't do that. Interesting. Oh, I was trying to ignore the check. But if we just move to h7, we lose another piece, and suddenly we are not up a piece anymore. In fact, we are... No, we are still up a full piece. Okay. So we're up a full piece. Oh, they're still threatening mate. Because if king g7, queen f8, queen g8 is mate. So, is there a way to take there? Question is, if takes, rook f1, threatening mate. But then can we go like knight e6? No, the knight is pinned. We could play knight b7, guarding the knight. But then they can push e6. I'm going to take here. Okay. There's the check. Move I didn't look at before was king g6, which we could do. If I went king g6, are there no mates? No checks even? No, there are checks for the queen here, here. But if they do that, we could sack a piece. Also, they bring the queen up, and then we just come back to h7. They're a couple moves away. This looks dangerous, but I think I'm going to do it. Okay. So we are doing that. We've got the check on e1. They can block it, of course. Then we check on e3. I guess they could block it or move away. They're probably just keep blocking. Seems like we need to get another piece involved, and I quite like knight d7. By going knight d7, now their knight is hanging. We're a little bit closer to getting our pieces in the game. Yeah. We could also play bishop d7. It's essentially the same. I missed. Nope, it's not the same. If we play knight d7, the bishop on c8 is covered twice. We're going to try this. Seems like it does a lot. It's a mistake of 301 pawns. That is a lot of pawns. 301 pawns is all of the pawns. Okay. So, does that lead to mate? Is that the problem? Like, let's say they play queen E8 check. Yeah, I guess I can only go... Well, I was thinking if I went to H7, I would be okay. But I guess not, right? Because then it's mate on H8 with the rook. Boy, arrows would be so cool. Let me check something. Maybe I can quickly figure out how to do arrows. Chessbase, how to make arrows. Press the Alt key and drag. That didn't work. You can drag the mouse in the starting square. Oh! Does that work? Sort of. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's working. Okay. Oh well, we tried. No way he didn't get mated in this. I don't see a thing. So you think Fischer's getting mated here? I don't think Fischer's getting mated here. I'm just going to say that. We can also go like queen e3 check, brings the rook back, and then we snag the pawn on e5, and we're stopping mate, but then the bishop is falling. Okay, so I guess what stops queen e8 would be bishop d8, d7. And then, yeah, that actually seems fine. Let's do that. I like the other way better, but if this stops mate, then this stops mate. Ooh, that's intriguing. Man. Queen e1 is very close to checkmate, but it is not. We could go queen e3 check, and now they can't even block with the rook. And if they go king f1, again, I'm going to try to draw an arrow. So here, nope. I wonder if it's just this feature I can't draw arrows. But queen here check, followed by bishop here check. That looks like it's going to be mate. And if they slide back into the corner, then we have queen c1 and we win the knight. So this looks pretty strong. Okay, so it goes into the corner. So we go here and we win everything, right? Oh, knight blocks that way. Okay, I missed that. So now what? We are up a full piece. But we can't really develop either of our two missing pieces. A bit tempted to play bishop c6, which seems pretty strong. Then maybe we can play b5 and knight d7. Or we go bishop b6, try to win on g2 by putting some pressure there. So we're going to do this. Big mistake, because white's queen can go to d3 check. I guess I did miss that. Okay. I don't know. A hard one. Looking at like queen takes g2. Maybe we just focus on getting our pieces developed. Although I thought I was. Perhaps we have to bring the queen back. The queen could go to d1. And then we could play bishop g4 to get the queen in the action, or to get some pieces in the action. All right, I don't know. Nope, another huge error. This is not so good because of e5, e6. Okay. Giltilly says queen e3. Queen e3. Then king f1. What? King f1? Maybe this is from a while back. And bishop b5. Queen g5 trying to trade the queen. Ooh, I like that actually a lot. Yeah, that seems like a great idea. Let's try to get the queen off. I like it. Okay, so the engine does like that move. It says, good job, Jill. You found a great move. Fischer went and grabbed this pawn instead. Okay. What does this move do exactly? Moving the rook over. Seems like an odd move. Now bishop c6 does threaten checkmate. They can't play queen d3, which is why we didn't do it before. There is the check on e8. And we could move the king to g5, but then they're taking on g7 with the rook. So maybe that was part of the whole move there. I feel like there's also queen takes e5 and just really... Wow, okay, that's not a move. Maybe queen f5 and just bringing the queen in. I think that's the way. I think this is like Jill's idea was to trade, and I like Jill's idea. Let's just come in here and give ourselves more defense. All right. So the engine says that it was indeed a good move, but Fischer went here instead. Yeah, I don't really love this move. I think in lines I was looking at queen e8 check, which does not work because our bishop covers e8. So there's no actual checks here. So we could pick up another pawn. Do we have the courage? You know what? Fischer does. Fischer's got the courage to grab another pawn. Yes, he does. He's like, I will take all of the pawns. You cowards wanting to trade material. I'm just taking all the pawns. Is this the paid version of Chessbase? I don't know how to answer that. I bought the program Chessbase and the Megabase. That's what I'm using here. I don't know what features are in what versions of Chessbase. I'm not well versed in Chessbase. Okay, so they brought their rook up. Now they have rook g3, which does look a little scary. But it seems like we could go king h7 and there is not a follow-up. Yeah, no. I was thinking maybe a perpetual, but we can always bring our queen back on f7 if they were to just sack the rook. So I think we can basically ignore that. And I kind of like the idea of like queen e6. And then we're just going to chase that queen away, and we're up quite a bit of material now. We should be good. So we're going to go here. Again, not a bad move. Fischer just preempts that rook move and moves back. I think I like the same idea. Just come back. Oh no, that's it. The game's over. His opponent resigns here. Very interesting. So his opponent was Istvan Bilic. I don't know this person. So that was an interesting game. We got a 65% score. Sufficient, apparently. I don't know. I don't feel like I did very sufficient, but that's okay. And that's that. So let's see what we learn from this game. Let's just go. Oh, there's no notation. It's just the game. All right. So what we had here was a poison pawn variation. Not something I play. Didn't get too challenging for Fischer, it seemed like. He was able to trade some material. They made this big sack. I don't think that sack was sound. We might as well check it while we're here. The sack is sound. The sack leads to equality. Okay. Fischer takes the piece, takes back. According to the engine, white is winning by 1. Chases the queen back. Takes the knight. And has a very slight lead. This is all fine. And it felt like what white got out of this was this combination. The rook-queen combination, which I think we can agree looked pretty scary. I think the king did have to go up, right? If the king goes down this way, I think I end up losing. Yeah. There. What's the fastest way here? Okay, rook h8 comes out. And then here, queen e8, and we end up getting mated. Maybe not mated, maybe just losing all of our material. Okay. So they took, and then this feels like a pretty important move. Right, this kind of holds everything together. And in so many lines we saw that holds the queen out of e8, which is really important. And Fischer just, took some pawns. Wasn't worried about the attack. And punished his opponent. So I think my takeaway here is when your opponent has kind of a scary looking attack, you should calculate, what if I just take their pawns? Is their attack that scary? You ready for this one though? This is an even game. Apparently wait, what? Maybe I'm not reading this correctly. Yeah, no, on depth 27, it says black is winning, but on depth 31, it's actually even. On that, white can go here and achieve equality. And that this is equal. Which is, first of all, wild that his opponent resigned in what the engine says is an even game. But it's also pretty wild that the engine thinks this is an even game. Like, this doesn't look even to me at all. Yeah, like this stuff looks very strong. As soon as black gets developed, it should be fine. So, fascinating stuff there. Pickle FR, thanks for streaming this. I've been looking forward to getting to Fischer Najdorf. So yeah, I just felt like this would be a fun way to go a little deeper with Fischer and his Najdorf. Okay, so let's get out of this one. And we're gonna do one more today. I think we have time. Let me see how long we've been going. Yeah, we can do one more. Why not? Why not? Okay, so let's pick another one. We're not going to pick a poison pawn. We'll pick... that was from an interzonal. Let's pick the same interzonal. Never mind. This one's 112 moves. I do not have the energy to do guess the move for 112 moves. So we're going to go against Unsicker. And Wolfgang Unsicker from the Olympiad in 1962. All right, so I assume, since this is from the Najdorf stuff, we can play Najdorf moves. I think that's clear. Okay, so what do you guys think? Bishop e2. I think there's a clear response to Bishop e2. Really, what you have to decide as a Najdorf player, often early, is am I playing e6 to control the center or e5? So that's really, I think, what you're thinking about right now. Is it e6 or e5? And there are theoretical right and wrong answers there. What's up, Fried Foxy? How are you doing? So what do we think this is? Is this e6 or e5? Oh, wow. The stream is way back. I can see it. So it's going to be hard. So I'm going to do it like this. And you're going to be like, what? Okay, so I'm watching myself bring the game up. Okay. I can't tell. Can you guys see the game? Okay. E6 or E5? You guys both say E6. Okay. E6 was right last time because they played bishop G5 threatening the center. This time they're not. They're playing a more reserved one. And the answer is actually E5. E5 driving the knight back. You believe Gary played E6. I don't think Gary played E6 against bishop E7, against bishop E2. Bishop E2 is like the Karpov sort of more positional approach, and because it's positional, and there's not this pressure on this knight, we can still control D5 with the knight. And then we're going to put our bishop here to also control D5 eventually. But we're not going to do that yet because then they would immediately respond with F4 and put us in a tough spot. So what do you guys think? What are we doing here? I've been doing a lot of theoretical work with the Najdorf lately. So I have my, I think, right answer, but we'll see. Well, what do you guys think? What are we doing here? Oh, okay. I can't tell how far back the stream is. It looks like the stream is pretty far back. Am I not fully caught up? Oh, that is the problem. I wasn't fully caught up. There we go. B5. Ooh, I like it. So you want to play B5 here. It is way too early for B5. So B5 is indeed a good move generally. We've played A6. Setting up B5, but what does B5 do for you? B5 makes this C6 square incredibly weak. If they end up getting a knight into that, that's going to be problematic, which they will, by the way. If you play B5, they might respond with knight eventually. So the right answer is going to be what Pickles says and Rocket says. It's going to be bishop E7. Whoa, okay, so modern theory, and it says it up here, that this move is theory. Fischer didn't play modern theory, which is fine. This is something that was discovered a little bit later, that if you play bishop E6 too early, they can play F4 immediately, and it's kind of a big problem. All right, I'm going to assume now, and by the way, just to be clear, you do want to make this move, even with modern theory. You're just delaying it slightly. Okay, so now we are going to play bishop E7. Like, that was the move we thought before it would happen, and we're definitely going to play it now. What is happening here? Okay, so he didn't play it there either. Very weird. Again, bishop E7 is theory. This is what's interesting about seeing some of these games. Also, some people don't play perfect theory, right? They decide not to. Rocket retracted his message. Uh-oh. He didn't like his answer. So what are we going to do? F4 is a pretty aggro move, right? Like, I think we can see F5 would be pretty problematic for our bishop. It would be trapped unless we're willing to play, say, rook over, so that then we could put the bishop here on C4. The often answer here is to take. Let me take a moment here. I think we take here. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why we don't generally play this move so early. We often wait till we've played that move and castled, and then we might play the bishop. Also, we might have this idea, because we haven't put our knight here yet. I think we're going to castle. I'm sorry, not castle. I think we're going to take, and while this might look really bad with his d-pawn, the d-pawn generally holds fine in the lines I've been looking at, and then we can end up with this knight on e5, which is pretty powerful. So let's take. It says my move is fine, but instead he does what I said we would have to do. We have to defend this bishop by putting a piece here. This feels like old theory, which is fine. What does f4 do after bishop e6? What it does is it threatens to do exactly this, right? It threatens to go to f5 and pressure this bishop, and you can see very limited in its squares to go. So we know that Fischer wasn't planning this move to take the knight because he put the queen here so that this square would be backed up. So he's going to go here and offer up a trade of bishops. I just kind of say like, well, I want to keep these two together and go with that. I think a lot of modern Najdorf players wouldn't have played it that way, and we'll look at that afterwards. I think they would have taken here and said this pawn is really weak. But that's not what he did. Okay. So he played a4, which is important for, what is it, Pickle, who had said long ago we should play b5. And Pickle, I mean, that's a good instinct because they can play a4 and make it so we can never play b5. And then Unsicker went ahead and did that. And so now we're kind of like, we can't even play b5. All right, Foxy says if black starts with bishop e6 and knight b7, I like the plan of pushing g4 and g5. Yes, that's also possible. Yes, and white would castle along. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what are we going to do? Bishop e7 certainly looks reasonable. We could take this bishop here. I don't know that there's a reason to do that other than if we don't want our queen here. We could take and then put our knight out to c5, which seems fairly reasonable. We could play rook c8 and sort of pile up on that file. I think all these moves are reasonable. I guess we should look at, can we play d5 here? And takes. I guess we cannot. I don't know that we want to. I think we want to just play bishop e7. That's what I think we should do. Let's see if I'm right. Okay, I am. And then they play bishop e3. And I think we should castle short here, unless we have a good reason not to. Like, why are we leaving our king in the middle of the board forever? We'll get him out of there, then we'll start doing stuff. I don't think d5 worked there because if we go back, they have 1, 2, 3 pieces attacking it. We would only have the knight and the bishop defending. I think we would just lose d5 there. Okay. So we're... Oh, shoot. Okay, I went too far. Or did I? No, I said we should castle. Okay. And then they played a5. We can't even play b6. How annoying. Also, I don't know. That looks a little weakening. It looks a little weird. I'm not sure I love that move. Okay. So I'm looking at this just as a, amateur player here, and I'm saying, I don't know, doubling the rooks feels pretty good, right? We can double the rooks. Sorry, not double the rooks. Double our heavy pieces. Our rook is more involved in the game. It's not doing anything in the corner. Once again, trying to decide, is it time to take that bishop there? I think I want to try putting the rook there. Jill says, I don't play the Najdorf, so if we castle, can the opponent play g4, g5? I don't think the opponent can play g4, g5 here. I mean, that's just a really weak king with a lot of pieces on the board. And I don't think the attack gets very far is the problem. Like, we have plenty of pieces around our king. If we need to, we could always drop the knight back to e8, which is a really good defender of g7. We could also move the rook out, maybe fianchetto the bishop. I just don't think an all-out assault. I think if white had castled long, that is a totally different game. And yeah, I'm with Foxy here. I don't know what black's active plan is here. I'm having a very hard time seeing that. It's why I'm thinking, like, when I can't find an active plan, I just sort of default to, well, let's improve some pieces, and it's a way to see what white's plan is while also making our pieces better. So I'm going to say we're going to move our rook here. That seems fine. The engine says that my move was fine. Instead, he decided to take away this annoying pawn. I have to assume the point was to take with the knight. Probably they're not going to trade bishop for knight. It was a way to make our knight better, right? Our knight was not very good here. If we had stuck it out here on c5, that wouldn't have worked all that well. Now we can put it on b6, be holding on to d5 a little bit stronger. Seems reasonable. So he takes, does indeed trade. That's a little surprising. It's not that surprising. I missed something here. Remember, the queen's backing up the bishop. So we can't just take. We would lose. So we have to first take, and then if they take, then we take, but aren't we losing? Hold on. So we are currently down a piece. If we take their bishop, we even up the game. They take our queen. We take their queen. They take our bishop. They're up a piece, and their bishop is not falling. So I'm a little bit confused about how we haven't just lost the game. Oh, got it. We take the bishop with check. Okay. Okay, so that's tactics. Really important, right? Every step of the way, tactics are important. So we have to take the bishop. It is with check, and then we have choices. Yes, and Jill sees that. We can take the bishop. It's with check. When you don't see an active plan, you should also look to prevent white's active plans. Don't default to, rook on an open file. Foxy, that is great advice. That is great advice. Okay, so we take with check. And now we're back to choices. We could take this bishop. We could take the knight, destroying their pawn structure. Or we could back up the bishop. We have the two bishops. I'm really bad at sort of saying, like, the two bishops are so good, I want to do whatever I can to preserve them. But in this spot, we can't anyway. At any moment, they could just take our bishop, and we would take back, and we wouldn't have the two bishops anyway. So it seems worth it to me to take that knight that admittedly isn't doing much, but it just gives them such bad pawns. The queen is now tied to defending that pawn. My guess, though, is this bishop will end up here on c4 defending the pawn. And so if that... Oh, no. What? Okay, well, I didn't try to do any of that. I thought I moved their piece, but I don't know what happened there. Okay, so the move was here. I don't know what move I put on the board. I put on takes e2. Okay, so I wasn't planning to take e2. I thought you might take the knight to go for the broken pawns, but he doesn't. They take... This leads to a lot of trades too, right? Like, we have to take with the pawn. They very well may take. Man, it's such a weak pawn. I don't love this. Okay, so then the knight jumps into the middle. I would assume we have to take with the knight. I'm also going to assume they're going to take with the bishop, the queen, threatening this rook a second time. So I'm going to have to do something about that. I don't see a way to not take this knight. Like, that just has to be. All right, so they take with the queen. So then the question is, what? I don't like our position here. It feels to me like our bishop looks pretty bad. Their queen looks annoying. It's pressuring our weak b5 pawn. Their knight is pretty well contained for the moment. And if we take rook takes a1, their rook takes, and they have the open file, and we have no way to contest it immediately. Not that open file is that critical. I don't know. I'm just having a hard time seeing how our game is good here. Like, that weakness on d6 is looking more and more pronounced. I'm a little bit tempted to play rook c8 with, like, I wanted to go rook c5, but the knight is covering it. They would probably play c3. And then maybe I can play b4. If they took, we would be very happy. If they pushed by, though, we'll see how we get it. Let's see what you guys are saying over here. Back to bishop with rook c8. It's rook e8, that must be? Rook c8. Okay, maybe that was before. Rook a4. Okay. Rook a4 is interesting. My problem with rook a4 is I feel like they could go take, I take, threatening the knight. That's pretty good. Maybe that pawn drops then, so maybe they can't take. And if they can't take, then we can double. So that looks quite strong. Rook takes a1, rook takes a1, queen f2. Looks scary. I agree. So let's take a look at that a little more. It's rook takes, queen to f2. Threatening to take on c2, threatening mate if we could lure the rook away. But b5 does hang also. Good ideas. And then doubling rooks on the c file. I think that's the weakest idea because I think c3 just cancels that out. I think I like the idea of rook a4. I think that's a very clever move, Foxy. I don't think they can take, and if they can't take, we get to really try to control a4. Yeah, okay, so Fischer is in Foxy's body right now. And Unsicker shows us right away why doubling on the c file isn't super great. c3 is strong. Question is, can we play b4 now that we have this rook here? Of course we can't, and we just hang. I think doubling the rooks here seems quite strong. So let's double the rooks on the a file, and if we can penetrate... Wait, what? So that doesn't work. Tactics. Queen takes a8, rook takes a8, rook takes a8, check. Bishop can stop the checkmate, but we've traded 2 rooks for the queen, which is less material. Wow, I didn't calculate that at all. I thought that was a totally fine move. Bam, tactics, ruins the day again. Let's see. I don't want to take on a1. But now suddenly rook a4 is not looking as good now that I've seen the tactical refutation. I'm looking at queen e3 just to kind of like be annoying, but I don't think it's good enough. It doesn't really feel like it's actually doing anything, and it's, I don't know, just sort of on its own in the enemy territory. I wouldn't mind improving this bishop, but if I move it, rook d1 comes and is immediately threatening that pawn a second time. I think oh, never mind. I was going to say c3 looks really good because we can't play rook d4. We couldn't do that anyway because of the knight. Knight is fully loose right now. Well, queen's backing it up. I mean, no pawns are guarding it. I don't know. I'm a little bit stumped. Yeah, I don't have a good move here. I'm sort of defaulting to rook c8, and we have interesting ideas like putting the other rook on c4, threatening the e-pawn. I'm also looking at something like h6, just giving ourselves an escape hatch, which seems reasonable to do. I'm going to do that. I don't think that's the right answer. Rook takes a1, followed by b4, trying to trade off the isolated pawn for the connected pawn. So rook takes a1, rook takes a1, b4. They push by to c4. And then what? We could go rook c8. Then they could put the rook behind it. Yeah, I don't think that works. What was the other idea? Queen e6. Okay, yeah, that's what I was. Oh, queen e6? Did you mean queen e3? Queen e3 is what I was looking at. This idea, and I don't know. It makes me feel a little worried. Also, it hangs this b pawn currently. I'm gonna play h6. It says that was the best engine move in the position, but that is not what happened. Instead, brings the queen over. Okay, that makes sense, right? I wanted to stack on the A file, and yeah, guess what? We can. We just have to do it with the queen. Rook takes A1 followed by B4, turning to. Okay, we looked at that. I think Rook A8 looks good here. Do I need to have all my rook's heavy pieces over here? I just realized this knight is very annoying. This knight's actually covering A1, but if we put our rook there and they do nothing, and we go rook takes, knight takes, rook takes, queen takes, knight takes, rook takes, we'd have rook and a bishop against queen, which is less than ideal. Yeah, I'm not sure what the point of that is all of a sudden. I don't know. I think rook A1. Rook A8, I mean. You wrote A6. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Pride Foxy might be Bobby Fischer. Alright, let's do it. Rook A1. My move's fine, but rook C8 is better. Okay. I wonder if that's to be able to go to C4. But if we're going to go to C4, it doesn't seem like it accomplishes much. Oh, maybe what it does accomplish is then we can play B4. Yeah, that looks actually really good. Let's do it. Nope. Now ace H6. I was going to do H6, and I was like, nah. Fischer's already decided he doesn't need that yet. Okay, so I like that. Now let's do rook C4. Whew, again. The computer likes it. It says it's a fine move, but it's not the Fischer move. So the Fischer move is to bring the bishop in the game. I don't like that move very much. I feel like having to force the queen to babysit the d-pawn is not what we want to do. And I don't quite see what bringing the bishop out to g5 does. I still think rook c4 looks right. Every move rook c4 looks good. I will say this, their king looks weaker now. Like, if we can get a rook back here, or the queen, they seem like they're in trouble. Pickle says queen a7 exclamation mark. Wow. Queen a7. It is threatening to go queen f2, which now looks very scary now that our opponent has... I do not understand why they've weakened themselves so much. It just seems like a bad idea. So queen a7, what do they do about that? I mean, first of all, they could just take on a4, but I guess we would take with the pawn. They would have to move the knight, and then we get into f7. But they could go like, oh, okay, now I'm seeing some problems. They can't move a rook to guard f2, because then we would just take the other rook. But they could go like queen d2. Nope, they can't do that. The bishop. Suddenly, I think you are right, Pickle. That is a good idea. I did not see that at first, but I think that looks like a great idea. Let's see if it's right. Okay. Ah! I did forget the king could just simply move over and go, okay, no big deal. I still think it makes... I don't think that refutes the idea, though, Pickle. I think that's a very good move. Now we're sort of exposing the king's weakness a bit. And now maybe rook c4 is a little scarier even. We're not threatening to take, right? Takes. No. Okay. I like rook c4 still. C4 hangs the b pawn. That is a great point. I mean, is that bad though? Because can't we just take the e pawn, and then they take, we take? We're doing very well. So I don't know. That seemed like a reasonable move to me. This is not good though. B4 now. B4 now would mean push the pawn, and what? What do we do when they push the pawn? P4 does not look good to me. Ooh, I got an idea. I don't think it works, but what? Oh, no, it doesn't work. I was looking at rook d4, and if they had to take with the pawn, we could go rook c2, and then they would go king h1. We go queen f2. I think that's mate. There might be a way out, but it doesn't work because of several things. Rook d4 is met by, first of all, knight takes. Second of all, our queen is hanging to the rook. So many reasons why that move does not work. Many reasons. So what are we doing here? We are able to play queen, bishop e3 if we want now. Like, yeah, it feels like we have to do something with that pawn though. Do we have to play b4 now? I don't like b4 here, but I kind of feel like we have to. Rook a2, rook a2, rook a2. I like rook a2. Rook a2 says, sure, you can have our pawn. I get a check. All my pieces come in. If you take, I take back with the queen. You take the pawn. I take the pawn on b2 with check. The c3 pawn is hanging. I think you guys are right. I think you're channeling your Fischer here. Okay, nice. And now again, I think we take here, say we're threatening mate. You can certainly have that random pawn if you would like. No, the queen hangs. Jeez, what am I doing? What am I even doing? Instead, we've got this beautiful tactic. Take here. If they take back, we mate them. Bam. And that's it. That's the game. Rook takes pawn, game over. Very embarrassing, though, that I tried to end the game by giving up my queen. Okay. So let's go back through this. Let's go to the notation. So it says I had 2 losing moves. I got 1 of 2 of the tactical moves. I'm kind of liking this training method. I actually really like that it tells you that you missed 1 of the 2 tactical moves. I'm wondering if it tells you when the tactical moves are. Not ahead of time, but after the fact. Like, does it say like that was a tactical move or no? Doesn't look like it. So I don't quite understand that. I think I have to do a little bit of research into exactly how this works, but that's a cool idea, right? So I know that I got 1 of the 2 tactical moves, and I made 2 losing moves, and overall we got 67%, so not bad. Yeah, you found some really good moves, Foxy. We should do Fischer. Should do more Fischer. Yeah, I think I'm going to do this for a couple weeks, I think. I thought this was very successful for what my goal for it was. And if you guys are also enjoying it, then I think it's working out well. Okay, so one thing we did get to see is that Fischer didn't play the opening how modern theory would play it. Because modern theory, the response would be this. So let's go to the openings book. Oh, I don't have an open. What? Okay, I guess live book is what it is. And so yeah, so this forces you to do this line, and modern theory doesn't love this line because, and this is what what's her name? Jill was saying they could just play G4 now, and this looks kind of scary, right? Like white wins a lot of these games. If we look at this with the engine right now, the engine says that white is winning by a whole pawn right now. So this is the problem with this early bishop e6. This is theory. We learn things from Fischer games. Super interesting how Fischer is regarded as super aggressive like Tall, but he played this game fairly passive and waited for his opponent to overstep and weaken. Yeah, I think this is a good point. We're not picking Fischer's greatest hits. We're picking Fischer's random Najdorf games, and I think it is a good point that he didn't try to do stuff like that. But we learned hopefully something about theory here, right? That you really shouldn't play the bishop there right away. What you're supposed to do is play the bishop here. Let's just go through theory real quick. They castle, we just copy them. They castle, they play their bishop here, and now we play our bishop here. And now this is not quite as scary. Now we just take. They take back. We're going to end up probably putting our knight on e5. We're going to go to c6 first. They move the king over. We're just developing normally. And I'm just making the number one book move. I'm pretty sure the knight ends up on e5. Okay, so one of the moves is knight on e5. And if they were to take, well, our weak d pawn is gone. And this looks like a totally fine opening. Are we winning? I don't know. The computer says we have a slight lead. But the point is we're doing totally fine. That f4 move was not scary. Whereas when f4 comes before they've castled and before they've done stuff, well, then they can just throw everything at us. And then it's very scary. Is this feature for paying Chessable? Jill, I don't know. I didn't really think about that when I started this. This wasn't like a Chessable ad. I'm pretty sure Lichess has a feature like this. One of the strengths of Chessable is its incredible database that you can easily search. So I just searched up all Fischer's games, and I was able to sort it by Najdorf games, and that's where sort of Chessbase is at its best. I'm pretty sure once you find the game you want to look at, Lichess has a feature that's like a test mode like this. I don't know if it's the same though. Foxy says, I don't think he played passive at all. He did what he could with the opening he was dealt. Okay, good points. Okay, let's take a look at it. So Fischer plays fine. But we learned basically from these games that this is not as good as the other way. And I think this is kind of what Pickle's talking about. Because he played the opening how he did, Fischer was kind of squished a bit, and it took him a while to kind of unravel here. And this move seems weird. I'm not sure this was a good move. The engine likes b5 best here. What did Fischer play? Fischer did play b5. Okay, I thought he played b6. Okay. All right, so then Fischer's able to get this knight out, and he has to just kind of slowly unwind. Which, by the way, that's kind of the point of white playing bishop e2, is to say, hey, Fischer, I hear you're like a Najdorf wizard. Can you play a boring Najdorf? Can you do that? Can you play a boring Najdorf? I think that's very interesting. Which is not surprising that it's associated with Karpov, as Karpov, I think Karpov's exciting, but a lot of people label his play as boring. I'm a little surprised. I guess not. The queen seems like the right move. And then Foxy did a great job finding this move. This move's a really good move, right? I was really struggling here. I was like, I don't know. We could go here. I think this is what maybe Pickle said as well. But c3 seems to immediately show how it's like, okay, you're gonna get doubled on the file, but it's not like it's an open file. And even if you try to bust it open, can't they just walk by? And then if you try to double on it, can't they be like, okay, well, I'll just protect it also. So I think a very amateur approach, this is not to criticize anyone other than myself, would be to say, oh, I'll double on a file. I can't double on the A file, so I'll double on the C file. Foxy noticed, actually, we can double on the A file if we want. And I thought we were just doubling, right? I was like, yep, double on the A file, and then tactics can't do that. So instead, Fischer has to take a much slower, methodical approach to getting the A file. He does. He slips in H6 when he thinks it's necessary. And now he starts punching back, right? Okay, I got to say, this feels like the losing move. And it is. Okay, that's great. I'm really happy I identified that during the game. And now, I feel like every amateur would be like, what? What? Why are you even pushing that pawn? That doesn't even make sense. Maybe the thought was he was so scared of bishop f4 being really problematic. But it just feels weird to be like, I will voluntarily weaken my king so that you can, at some point, get a rook, which is hard. But like what Foxy found, we can do it now. We can just come back now and start pressuring that. And then by putting the rook here, which is another really nice find, bam, game. So, interesting stuff. Fischer's opening kind of put him in a rougher spot. But he's Fischer. He was able to fight back and eventually, press through with tactics. So, I don't know. I had a good time with this. I think it was fun. I think it's a good way to test, A, our calculation abilities, B, it's a way to do puzzles without having an answer. That's what I've been looking for is like, I don't know. I feel like doing puzzles kind of messes with my brain when I play a real chess game. I'm like, where's the answer? Where's the answer? It's like, there's not an answer, man. You're just trying to find the best move. There's not always an answer. Oh, my mistake. Pickle found queen a7. Good job, Pickle. That was a good move. So I don't know. I think this is really helpful. There were a couple tactical answers we had to find. But a lot of times it's just what's the best move on the board, and maybe there's a couple best moves on the board. So, hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you next time. Yeah, that was a fun one. See you tomorrow, I think. So normal stream time now is going to be around 4-ish Pacific. That's about when I get home. So I'm going to try to keep this up. We'll see if I can. All right. See y'all.